in terms of supporting female athletes, I think that one of the biggest things is that like most women just they don't want to feel singled out, and they want to be treated differently. So
Yeah.
like just treat them as you would any one of the guys. And having a community of women is one of the best ways to feel more comfortable in the sport.
What's going on, everybody? My name is JP, and I want to welcome you here to the Stable Cyclist podcast, where we talk about bikes, life mentality, and mental health. It has been a big month with a lot of amazing guests, and we keep it rolling here today with Hannah Schell. But before we do that, I want to remind you, if you enjoy the podcast, if you enjoy what you listen to or watch when you show up each week, do me a favor. And if you're on a listening platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a 5-star review, please, and thank you. And if you are on Apple Podcasts, a written review would be that much more amazing. If you are watching each week on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. As I said, my guest today is Hannah Schell, but before we get her in here on the hot seat, I want to remind you the Stable Cyclist podcast is brought to you by Flow Formulas. If you have a big endurance event coming up, or you're just trying to train for an adventure or be healthy, then Flow Formulas in your bottles is what you need before, during, and after that exercise. And when you go make that purchase, you can use the code JohnPeter15 at checkout to get a discount on all those goodies. All right, enough of all that. Let's get Hannah into the studio. Well, Hannah Schell, welcome to the Stable Cyclist podcast. We have crossed paths and been like in very close proximity to each other at Gravel Worlds, but never really talked to each other. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So we should timestamp this a little bit. We're having this conversation the day after Little Sugar, and you are getting ready to race Big Sugar, I presume, this coming weekend. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
All right. And most of this year, you have been pretty focused on the Gravel Earth series, if I'm not mistaken. Is that also correct?
Yeah.
More or less, yes?
Yes. I kind of started the year, like my intention for the year was to chase a wild card with the Grand Prix, and then those dreams kind of fell apart when I DNF'd at Unbound, so then I pivoted to the Gravel Earth series.
Okay. And when you're looking at a year and thinking about how to set it up or what you want to do, like how do you make those decisions? What does that look like for you?
It's actually changing quite a bit, because I think that I used to just want to do all the big races, like the ones
Sure.
that everyone else was going to be at. And I'm learning more about myself as an athlete. I think people say this all the time, but they're like, man, if I could tell myself when I was 20 what I know about myself today, there's so much that I would do differently. But I am learning that there are specific races that do really suit me as an athlete. And so as I'm building out my calendar next year, I'm trying to put more of those in. At the same time, still wanting to be at the most competitive races. But like Leadville, for example, I just don't think I'm going to do that again.
Sure. And what would you say does suit you really well? What are you looking at as like, I'm here for that?
Yeah. So Unbound would be a perfect example, like races that aren't necessarily long climbs, more like punchy. I hesitate to say this because I use the word bigger in relation to the women that I race against. Like I'm 6 feet tall, so I am just like larger. I say that and people are like, you're not big, but that's not what I don't mean it in that way. I just mean that I am, like, in terms of overall size, bigger than the people that I race with. So while my power numbers are like great for an absolute range, when you start to put climbing into the mix, I lose any benefit really quickly. So yeah, I think that those like longer races that are more flat or rolling terrain can be a really, really good situation for me.
Sure. And you are in the division of athletes I would call the post-COVID gravel racer. Amanda Sheik and I often talk about there's like two eras of gravel, and there's the pre-COVID and the post-COVID. And if I've listened to your story correctly over the last couple of years, you're definitely a post-COVID gravel racer. Is that correct?
I did switch to gravel in 2020,
Okay.
which so it was like, but then because there was no gravel racing that year, I didn't actually do my first gravel race until 2021.
Sure. Sure. And where were you coming from, I guess? What got you to gravel? How do we get here?
Yeah, I started racing on the road, predominantly criteriums, but I raced for Papa John's and DNA. And then in 2018, I was just kind of, I guess, just a little bit disillusioned with the road scene, just wasn't really feeling as passionate as I had been there. And I was looking for something that was more independent. I have always had multiple jobs and sort of a lot going on outside of my life as a cyclist. And on the road team, I just found that it was increasingly hard to balance life with racing. And I do think that with gravel, it's easier.
Sure. Sure. What did your athletic life look like before racing on the road? Were you involved in athletics as a kid? Were you involved in bike racing as a kid? How do we end up where you're racing professionally on the road?
I was a dancer.
Okay.
And so I was in show choir and dance in high school. And then when I went to college, I wasn't dancing anymore. So I started running basically just for fun to stay in shape. And then my senior year of college, I had a really bad running injury and could not run anymore. So I started riding my bike. And my dad actually gave me one of his old road bikes. And then my first job out of college, I was working for the Federal Reserve in St. Louis. And I had a coworker who was a triathlete, but she was also getting into criterium racing. And so she took me to my first crit, which was the Edwardsville crit in the St. Louis area. And I got third. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of good at this. And then it all picked up very quickly from there.
Sure. So you said you like the independence of the gravel scene, but you kind of have this period where you race in 2020, but then there's not a whole lot going on the rest of 2020. How do you make that jump to deciding this is just what I'm going to do by the time we get to 2021?
So in 2020, if you remember, like I don't know how many people remember this, but Unbound was originally scheduled for June, and then they delayed it to September. And then obviously had to cancel the September race. But I had been training as if I was going to do Unbound. And when they canceled it, I was like, why don't I just keep training? And my husband and I can just go to Emporia and do like an independent Unbound.
Sure.
So we did that. And I thought this will be a great test. Like it's not a perfect comparison, but I can at least get an idea of like what my time would be on the course. So I rode the North course by myself and I rode it in 12 and a half hours. And I was like, oh, this is actually really good. And then, there's a couple things that aren't perfect. Like, the weather is a lot cooler in September. There's there's not any mud, things like that. But it was at least enough for me to confirm that it was something I could be competitive at and that I really enjoyed doing.
Yeah. So what does then, as you build towards 21, what did that look like? Did you have relationships with brands at that time? Were you just like, I'm going to privateer this totally on my own? Or how did you set things up?
My husband had started a privateer program in 2017. And when I was kind of deciding at the end of 2019 whether I wanted to continue on DNA, he had said to me, like, I actually think that you could do really well if we added you as another rider to the privateer program that I have. And he had started speaking with the brands that he was working with and pitching the idea of adding, a female rider and doing equal support. And they all loved that idea.
Of course they did. Yes.
Yes. And then when we told them we were going to do gravel, they loved that even more.
Yeah.
So we built, and in fact, most of the brand relationships we have that we started, we still have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you at this around the same time, how does that, let's talk about how the first year goes. Like your first full year doing this, where did you go? Where did you race? And, how did it go for you?
It went really well. So I started 2021. I started at the Oklahoma Gravel Grinder, which I don't actually know if that event still is going on, but it was a really cool sort of regional gravel event. And I got second there to Emily Newsome, who it was funny because I had raced with Emily on the road. And so I knew Emily was a really strong rider, and I was pretty happy with that performance, especially with it being my first real gravel race. So then I did Unbound, and I was 12th at Unbound that year. I'd had a really bad sidewall tear and spent quite a lot of time on the side of the road fixing it. And then it was kind of a fun day because I chased back from I was literally like last place, and I chased back to 12th. And then, let's see, after that I did Crusher, where I was 10th. Um, and then SBT Gravel, where I was 12th again, and BWR Kansas, and I was 5th there.
So I'm curious what your like confidence is both coming in, because transitioning from the road and doing crits and that kind of thing is quite different from Unbound. To how did that process go? Because even time trialing Unbound, like you said, is very different in September or in the fall compared to in the end of May. So how did you deal with kind of the mental transition into like a very hard, long sport that's very different from what you had been doing?
That was never a challenge for me.
Okay.
I actually think that that is what kind of drew me to gravel, because I've always loved riding my bike for just a really long time.
Sure.
Like when I was a crit racer, I would be telling my coach, like, I want to go do like 6, 7, 8 hour rides. Like
Sure.
I just want to do it. I just enjoy it. It's fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the mental aspect was never super challenging. That was something that I always felt like was a strength. In fact, I often feel like the harder the conditions, the more that I can usually push through and keep fighting.
Is that why? I mean, so much of the footage I see from the Gravel Earth series, everything looks pretty gnarly at some point, and you have had a lot of success there. Why is that? Why you just kind of thrive in that setting? Is that you're just like, I'd like it to be difficult.
It could be. I think that also the other thing I love about Gravel Earth series is that the events are so diverse.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've really loved about that series is they have races in Central and South America, and that's a part of the world that I love. And so it's been really fun for me to be able to go experience racing in those countries, and especially in the Latino culture. I love that experience. It's been
Yeah.
really fun.
Absolutely.
And so I think I've drawn a lot of benefit from that, especially like from being comfortable, being slightly uncomfortable, being out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Just racing in a different country can be really challenging. So
Yeah. Are you a Spanish speaker?
I am definitely becoming a Spanish speaker.
Okay.
I can have I have very good conversational Spanish,
Sure.
but it can still improve. And that's actually my biggest goal for next year, is to like become more fluent in Spanish.
Sure. How Gravel Earth series, like you said, very diverse, very international. How much international racing had you done prior to getting into it a lot more in the Gravel Earth series?
A little bit. So I did some racing in Canada when I was on the road. And then I raced UCI Gravel Worlds in Belgium last year, and
Yep.
I
Yep.
raced Cape Epic
Okay.
2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I like to ask people who have traveled some is, I think it's kind of big and scary the first time you do international travel with your bike, and especially possibly by yourself. How did you work through that? Did you have a travel companion when you were taking these trips, or did you just be super brave and bold and go do it?
Oh, I, yeah, like I don't know that I've traveled internationally with a bike without knowing someone where I was landing. Like in Chile recently, I went by myself, but then I had good friends that were waiting for me at the airport to pick me up.
Sure.
And I actually would have been fully prepared to go do that by myself. It was something that I was like kind of looking forward to. I thought it would be kind of fun, but then
Yeah.
it just worked out better that I had friends that were so graciously willing to kind of give up their weekend to come do a bike race with me. Um, Other international trips, I've almost always had my husband or one of my really good friends with me. But I would say that, I mean, to anyone out there, especially to women that are looking to do
Yeah.
international races and that maybe don't have that, they don't have friends or partners that want to do that with them, I would just reach out to the race organizers. I would reach out to the community because there's almost always people that are happy to help with logistics or answer questions that you might have. I find that the community is, in general, very happy to help provide that information.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like you addressed it there, like so many women, I think. I just got done talking to Maddie Nutt, was my previous interview, like 20 minutes before we started. And she
Okay.
travels a ton.
Yes.
And this was a very similar conversation we had because I like to hear those viewpoints. And I think even if a lot of men listen to my show, they have spouses and daughters who might be racing who want to race internationally. And how do we go about that? So all good stuff. You you in 2022 you started rolling RV life, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? You and your husband?
That's correct. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh man. Okay, so my
And I guess
husband,
before you even start, are you still rocking RV life?
we have never lived in our RV full time.
Okay.
And I do have to clarify that because I think
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes we spend so much time in it that sometimes people are like, "Oh, they just don't even have a house." Um so my husband in 2021, after we did our first season of gravel, he's like, "We need an RV. Like that would make this so much more enjoyable." And I was like, I absolutely love that idea. I have no idea how we would pay for it. And he said, "Well, I know this guy in Australia who has a freight company, and we've been trying to work out a sponsorship thing." And he was like, "I think it might be a really good way for him to sponsor us." And so he pitched to Vantage Freight is the company, and he pitched to them that they would basically provide us a monthly stipend to pay for a truck and an RV for 2 years. And he went for it, which was amazing. Like to this day, it's one of the things I'm so grateful for out of this sport because without that, we would not have been able to be where we are today.
Sure.
And we also got very lucky at the same time that one of our I mean, he's a sponsor, but he's also a friend. His wife works in the RV industry, and she works for a motorhome dealer, and they had a fifth wheel traded in. And so she knew we were looking for a fifth wheel. She reached out and was like, "We really like kind of just need to get this off of our lot because we don't deal fifth wheels." And so they gave
Sure.
us wholesale pricing on it. So we ended up with like the deal of the century on a fifth wheel, and we bought a diesel truck right before the prices skyrocketed. So yeah, like there's a lot of, we just got very, very lucky in a number of ways. And it was also like, it was one of the most challenging things for our marriage, for like so
Of
many
course.
things in general.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
when you are pulling a 40-foot trailer, the stress levels are crazy. And we like used to joke that my husband and I were like, "Oh, we need to get rid of the RV. Like we're arguing way too much." And then we kind of realized we are like, it's not the RV, like it's our ability to communicate.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but like we've got it figured out now. We still have our RV. We absolutely love it. We often like talk about maybe selling it to buy an asset that would actually appreciate. But then
Sure.
we love the RV so much. We love the
Yeah.
ability that we have to take it to different places. So yeah, we will this year in December, we will load up the RV and go to Tucson and spend 4 months in it. And we're looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Did you have this by chance parked at the Good Life house during Unbound?
Yes.
Then I've seen it. Then
Yeah.
I've seen it. So yeah, uh, I don't tell my nutrition sponsor, but I was at the Good Life house meal with Chase doing stuff at Unbound. So then
Oh, awesome.
and that's where again I was like, we have been in tangential locations without ever being like, hi. But I remember seeing an RV there and being like very impressed by it. So that's awesome.
So the funniest part about all of this is that my husband's like main logic for getting the RV is that we have two cats. And he was like, I want to go to Tucson to train for like months, but we can't do that and leave our cats. And so that is like, sometimes people ask us, like, why didn't you get something smaller? And I'm like, well, we needed to have like functional space for our cats to have a cat tree and to have their litter boxes. And so, like, the real reason that we have what we do is because of the cats.
That is incredible. That's incredible. All right. So as you look towards next year, well, let's go back to 2021, 2022. The Grand Prix shows up on everybody's radar. How bad were you trying to be a part of that? And, I don't hear anything about mountain biking so far in this story. So things like Leadville seem like they might be tricky.
Oh man. Okay, so yeah, when the Grand Prix announced in 2021, I had already finished my gravel racing season. But I had top 10 finishes in two of the three gravel races that were going to be in the Grand Prix. So I knew I had a pretty good chance of being a part of it. Um, I was a part of it in 2022 and 2023. And I did not have a mountain bike when I applied. And then once I got into the Grand Prix, I had a full panic attack realizing that I had basically 5 months to get a
Yep.
mountain bike and also learn how to ride it
Yep.
before Sea Otter. Which now I look at Sea Otter and I'm like, that's a fun mountain bike race. Like, there is nothing on
Yep.
that course that scares me. But at that point in time, I was terrified.
Yeah.
It was really scary.
Yeah.
Um, Mountain biking is the best thing that came out of the Grand Prix for me, though.
Mm.
I was really lucky that my best friend and training partner got into mountain biking before I did, and she spent so much time on the trails with me, like helping me work through my fears. I've also worked with several really great mountain bike coaches that have helped me increase my
Yes.
skill level. I still have a long ways to go. Like, just finishing Little Sugar yesterday, I lost so much time on the descents because I'm just not as confident as
Yeah.
other women. But I have so much fun on my mountain bike, and I'm eager to continue to improve there.
Yeah. So are you trying to get into the Grand Prix again in the future, or are you fully focused on other things, as you kind of hinted at earlier?
I will apply for the Grand Prix next year. I highly doubt that I will get in because I haven't really done anything this year to justify that.
Sure.
Although I have one more chance, so we'll see what we do this weekend. But I do love the wild card competition. I think they've done a really good job with it, and I love that it gives people like me a chance to prove my value in the series.
Sure. Sure.
And this year with the DNF at Unbound, obviously I was out of the wild card competition. But if I had literally, like, I was talking with my housemates here the other day. If I had like hiked my bike for 20 miles to get to the next aid station to get a new wheel and then cross the finish line, who knows, like 15 hours later, I would have gotten a wild card spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that at the time, and so it's killer, but it
Yeah.
does make me very motivated for next year.
Yeah, totally. So one of the things that has been, I guess, from my optics, really good about the Grand Prix is it has given the women a lot more visible platform to race on and be seen. However, I know there's been a lot of frustrations within the women's field about, age group men and interfering with the race essentially. And I just want to like let you talk through, like, how do you feel about where the women's racing is at? Obviously, you're part of Gravel Worlds as well on their like team to try and get more women to the starting line, and that's amazing. But how do we continue to make this a better sport for the women?
Yeah, I think that Lifetime has absolutely listened to the women, and I think that they consistently do the best they can to ensure that women get their own race. As you look through the years, like when the Grand Prix first started, we had mass starts, and at the time I loved that. Like as a crit racer, a mass start race with a bunch of like different chaos, that's perfect for me.
Yeah,
However, it became very, very clear that you cannot have a women's race and you can't tell the story of women's racing when we're mixed in with the men.
100%.
And once I realized that, I was like, oh yeah, we need a separate start. Once we had a separate start, drafting became very frustrating because the women's race would unfold and then the men would catch us. And then the men would go undo everything that we had just done.
Sure.
And so again, that those were the rules. And so everyone was doing the best that they could. But and it took Lifetime a little bit to figure out like how can we have anti-drafting rules and still enforce them?
Yeah.
And that was our question at Gravel Worlds too. And it's a question that I think every race promoter gets is how are you going to enforce this? And luckily at Gravel Worlds, we have an amazing partner in BCC, and all of their moto drivers are USAC officials.
Okay.
And so for us, it was very easy to just have a conversation with them and say, like, if you guys see it, it's your discretion to give a warning or write down a number and determine if it warrants disqualification. But I know that Lifetime has also done a really good job of having marshals on the course and looking for it. And as long as there is clear communication about the rules for women's racing, I don't think that drafting is an issue.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Do you see there being benefit to, I hear a lot of people hint and talk about wanting to go to separate days for the pros. Is that, and I'm not asking you to speak on behalf of Jason and Sophia at Gravel Worlds or anything, but like, is that a viable option, do you think, for some of the really big races moving forward to totally alleviate this and give women their own, like, this is the race?
What I love about my role at Gravel World is that I've learned how challenging the work of a race promoter is. Yep. And I've been able to appreciate more the inner workings of how many balls these race events have in the air at any given time.
Yeah.
To have an event on a separate day, I think is a huge ask. And I just honestly, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know. Right. I don't know exactly how Lifetime works for Gravel Worlds. I would say it's probably not possible, especially if we want to have marshals at intersections, if we want to have police supporting, like that almost doubles what it costs to put on the race.
Yep.
And frankly, the pro race doesn't bring in the most money.
Correct.
So yeah, like, and that's really what my role is at Gravel Worlds, is to help sort of decipher, like, you could put your entire focus into the pro race. The pros would love that. But that's actually not the way to do it in gravel, because the people that keep these events going are the people that sign up and pay full price for their registration.
Yeah.
So that being said, then you have the issue of not wanting the people that are actually like keeping the event moving, the age group and the amateur riders. You don't want them to be impeded by the pro race. And so I think that's something like yesterday, for example, that was a real issue here. And I just have a lot of empathy for the problem that everyone is trying to solve. And I don't have the right solution. I think that an hour time gap between the pros and the age groups at Little Sugar is probably the right way to go for next year. Whether that's feasible, I don't know.
Right. Right. But, well, and like you said, so much of the time we don't see all the stuff behind the scenes that got us to just allowing the race as it is to happen. And so being like, I'll just have a second day of this. And it's like, no, then we go bankrupt.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk in a bit about your your role. You talked about keeping balls in the air. It sounds like you have a lot that you're trying to also keep in the air right now. But while we're on the topic of women in sport and what's going on there, I always like to talk with my guests when I have the opportunity. I have 4 daughters. I have an amazing wife who played college sports and also happens to be tall, and so I feel this is a relevant conversation with you. You mentioned earlier just your identity as a tall female, and especially your identity in sport as a female. And I know, like I said, from having a wife who played college volleyball and is 6 feet tall, that while that is really awesome on the volleyball court, it can be very self-conscious or self-aware in other areas of life. And so I just want to talk with you about how you as an athlete work through those things, how you as an athlete work through just being a female athlete and how you're viewed at times, and how you work through those things. Because I think it's huge for us. Like I said, a lot of my listenership and viewership is men, and they still have wives and daughters and partners and women in their lives who need support, and we don't always know the best way to come about this. So how did you work through just being a female and a taller female in sport?
Yeah, I think that
And hopefully you don't feel like, what the hell's wrong with this guy as I ask this
no,
question? Like, I don't know
no.
how else to bring it about.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm always so careful about how I phrase, like,
Yep.
I'm I'm a healthy weight. I just weigh
Yep.
more than the average rider because there is more of me. And
Yep.
that does not mean that I should go lose 10 kilos. That means
Yep.
that I need to focus on what racing suits me when I am healthy.
Yeah.
I think that for me, it's really been about the community and the support system that I surround myself with. Like when I'm having doubts or when I'm having thoughts that um, I mean, as females, there are things that are being programmed into us all the time, like whether we realize it or not, especially about our
Yeah.
appearance. That's the hardest
Yes.
part about it.
Yep.
But that's why it's been so critical for me to have people around me that I can always gut check things if I'm having doubts or if I'm feeling a certain way, that I can talk through it with people that I really trust. Um, in terms of supporting female athletes, I think that one of the biggest things is that, like, most women just don't want to feel singled out, and they want to be treated differently. So
Yeah.
like, just treat them as you would any one of the guys. And having a community of women is one of the best ways to feel more comfortable in the sport. I was really lucky when I started riding that there was a strong local women's team in St. Louis that kind of adopted me and taught me a lot and gave me this wonderful place to grow as a female athlete. And those are becoming far more common. And at Gravel Worlds, in fact, we have like a Women of Gravel Worlds chat. So just anything that you can do to try to create spaces for female athletes to interact with each other is a great method.
Yeah. That's fantastic. You've mentioned a few times you are this professional athlete, but you are also working multiple other jobs, and one of them is you work for Gravel Worlds. And not just because you're on, but I've said it before. Gravel Worlds is a race everybody needs to get to. It's a totally different vibe than Unbound, but it's also amazing. And so tell us about what you do there and how did you even come into this role, I guess?
Yeah. So Gravel Worlds is one of the first races I did in 2021.
Sure.
I believe I finished fifth the first year that I did it, and I loved it. I met Jason and Sophia. I came back in 2022 and finished fourth, and then Jason invited me to be on the podcast. And we did the podcast at Big Sugar, and I asked them if they'd ever thought about having a gravel camp, because it was something that I had been really interested in being a part of, because I
Yeah.
wanted to help riders that were new or interested in gravel learn about the sport. And Gravel World seemed like the best place to do that because the event has always had a huge emphasis on being a welcoming space.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason loved the idea, so we did put together a gravel camp in 2022, and or no, sorry, in 2023 we put together a gravel camp, and it was like amazing. It was one of the best weekends that any of us have ever had. Like there were so many great connections. There was so much community building, and I still see people from that gravel camp at events now, and it's just really rewarding.
Yeah.
And then after that, Jason invited me to join the team in 2024 as the first to last coordinator. And so
Sure.
basically, as a pro athlete, I think that partly due to my role with Gravel Worlds, but also just because I started racing gravel kind of right before everything became focused on the pro and elite fields. And one of my biggest concerns as the Grand Prix started and as races started to focus more on the pro fields was like, hey, the reason that this sport is so great is because of the age group and amateur participation.
Yeah.
And we can't lose that. So
Yeah.
we can improve the pro fields. We should improve safety. We should make sure that women have their own race, for example. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the rest of the people that are participating don't feel that they're forgotten.
Yeah.
And because of that passion and also just understanding of the business of the sport, that was why Jason asked me to join the team.
Gotcha. And what is it that you do specifically, or like what is your title these days with Gravel Worlds?
I'm the first to last coordinator.
Yeah.
So I help with sort of figuring out what we're doing for the pro race, and also helping sort of filter out the requests to determine what is really needed in terms of safety and in terms of making sure that, because we have a huge prize purse now. So our
Yeah.
biggest concern as race organizers is usually safety and
Yeah.
making sure that the event is fair.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's kind of like figuring out, like, pro riders are always pushing for more resources and better racing conditions for themselves, which I'm glad they do, because
Yeah.
that's how the sport moves forward. But
Yeah.
as event organizers, we kind of have to decide, we have a limited budget, we have limited resources. Which of these things can we accommodate
Yeah.
without sacrificing the experience for everyone else or making it unfair? Because that's another big concern of ours is like, hey, we can't do free bottles for the pro field and then tell the amateur racers they're not allowed to have them.
Yeah.
That the optics of that are just not what we're about as an event.
Yeah. Cool. That makes sense. All right. Well, that was a lot of like serious stuff for like 35 minutes here. And we usually finish with, I guess I don't call it rapid fire anymore because that's not what it is. It's more like JP's random fire questions here at the end. So I'm going to ask you some fun questions here. The first one is that you and I are going to go on a long bike ride, which it sounds like you're all about. And at some point, we are going to run out of fuel, Hannah. And we are going to have to stop at a gas station and restock with what we need to get us home. So what are you, and this is not like a nice, fancy quick trip or something like that. This is a dingy rural gas station. And so what are you getting to eat and drink that's going to get you the rest of the way?
So I usually will go with Gatorade. I really love the pepino lime flavor. I'm guessing this gas station isn't going to have that. So probably like grape or fruit punch. And then I like to mix that with water. I kind of
Okay.
like cut it with water because I find the flavor to be just like a little bit strong for me. Um, and then gummy bears are always my first choice if they have
Right
them.
on. Right on.
Um, Otherwise, like truly any sweet candy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Skittles or something like that.
I would always choose a gummy candy if
Okay.
yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think those are good choices. When you're on the bike, are you a music? Well, first of all, do you wear headphones on the bike?
I have open ear headphones and I will
Okay.
wear one.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
Yeah, and I like that because I find that I can still hear my surroundings, so I don't really
Yep.
have a safety concern with it.
Well, I was
But
going
yeah,
to say you're the coordinator of safety at a big race, so of course you're worried about that. So,
I
yeah.
don't I
Oh,
don't want to take credit. I'm not the coordinator of safety.
okay, okay,
There are a
okay,
lot of
okay.
other people that do that. It's more that I help say like, hey, these are things we might need, and that
Sure.
someone else actually does the hard part.
Okay. So, one open ear headphone. What are we listening to? Are we listening to music, podcasts? Do you have like a go to the well mix on interval day, or what do we got?
Both.
Okay.
So it depends on what workouts I'm doing. I grew up with my brother who is a massive metalhead. And so to this day, I love a lot of like metal music on my interval days,
Can we have some
which I think surprises
examples?
a lot of people.
Can we have some examples?
Slipknot, System of a Down, Corn. Those are,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Okay. And in this like go to the well scenario or interval day, is there if you could only choose one song, what song are you going to listen to?
Duality by Slipknot.
Okay. I like how fat that came out of a holster, Hannah. Like you knew it.
That like
That's fantastic.
it's such a good song for intervals. It's
Okay.
truly like even if you're not a metal person, like trust me on this, just turn it on the next time you're doing like a really hard workout and it's great.
Well, the audience of this podcast over the year has slowly been building like the song playlist, and we just like chuck one in every week, and it's been this slowly building playlist. So we'll add that one for sure.
Where is this playlist? Because I need to look at it.
I might have to make it and then like make it public or something, or put a Instagram post about it. So for
I love
sure,
that idea. I think that's a
yeah,
great idea.
for sure. And the calling it the go to the well mix, that's a Joe Gettle thing.
Okay.
That he calls it that. So okay. Oh well, we're not done with music yet. There's one question. You said you like Unbound, and there tend to be a lot of activations at Unbound. And if perhaps there was a karaoke activation hosted by the Holy Spirit of Gravel and I, what song would you decide to sing at this karaoke activation?
I'm a little concerned for what I name here because it sounds like this might be something that's actually being planned. Uh, what song would I sing? Man, that's a
Like,
really
well, like some people, like Justin McQuarrie said he wanted to sing The Man from Waco for his song. So, like, and they're all over the board.
so I would actually I don't know if you could say sing, but the real Slim Shady. That has been my sister and my karaoke song for ages. So
As it should be.
yeah.
Yes, that's fantastic. I love that a lot. Okay. Next important random fire question. Are you into Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Harry Potter.
Oh, that was a quick answer. Okay. Well, if that's the case, do you have a belief on if you were in the story itself, where would the sorting hat put you?
Yes. I think I would probably be a Ravenclaw.
Okay. All right. At least you don't think you're Gryffindor like everybody else does. So I appreciate that a lot. So, yeah. And as you may have noticed, as I drink my coffee,
Oh,
I am a Slytherin. So,
really?
yes. You
Interesting.
can't. You can be nice and still view the world through Slytherin eyes all the time. So, yeah.
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't. Some people have scolded me about that on the podcast. So I appreciate you just like taking it in. So, yeah.
Is true Harry Potter fans kind of like I think that the ending is I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I think the ending is redeeming for Slytherin.
Yeah. Well, everybody's
On the
redeemable.
coffee.
So, yeah. And if I take off my glasses and push my nose down, I look exactly like him who should not be named. So, yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's great.
All right. So I ask this next question as a Wahoo sponsors me and the work I do, so I'd say this is the Wahoo question. But if you're with like whatever else, you can certainly name it here, and it won't hurt my feelings. But when you are riding and racing, what is the primary screen you're looking at?
I am a Garmin athlete, and so I have my Garmin map screen, and I have power and time on it.
Okay. Is that during the race as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't if I'm in the group, I'm really not looking at my computer. I know there's a lot of athletes out there that are like, you should never look at your power in a race. For gravel racing, I have to disagree, because I have to have some sort of metric. If I'm like by myself, I need to be able to like figure out where I'm going to sit for the next, 4 hours until I get to the finish.
Yeah.
So yeah, but if I'm in the group, I really don't look at my computer that often. It's more just, what I really like is the beeps that tell me when there's a turn coming up.
Sure. That is helpful for sure. All right. You have, this is our last one. You have traveled the world racing. So I want to hear, this is a past and a future question. What is your favorite race that you've done that other people should go do? And then the second part is, what have you looked at on the map where you're like, I want to go do that for sure?
Gravel Mexico is my favorite race. And there's so many reasons for this, but the primary reason is that I truly believe that the culture of Mexico like mirrors what we love about gravel. It is community oriented. It is about doing hard things and having a smile on your face while you do it. The race organizers at Gravel Mexico do an amazing job of tying the race back to Mexican culture. And so I think a lot of Americans hear Mexico and they're like, oh, we're going to the beach. Like, no, it's actually in the mountains. It's at altitude. It's we get to race through a sacred indigenous region called the Wixara, and it's beautiful. And I love that you get to like, something that's cool about gravel racing is that I think that just because of the nature of the race, you can more appreciate the ties to the land, and there are very strong ties to the land that you race through in that race.
Yeah.
So there's a number of reasons why I think everyone should do it. I think it's just an amazing experience. It's really, really hard. So just be prepared for that. Yeah. And then in terms of the future, there's quite a few races that I really want to do. Migration is one that I really want to go out there.
Yeah. Looks incredible. Hannah, where can people find you if they want to follow along with your story?
I'm on Instagram at Hannah G. Shaw.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and having this chat and being open and vulnerable. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for hanging out with Hannah and me today. If you enjoyed the episode, please do share it with someone who you think might enjoy it. We have a lot more exciting episodes coming up in the next few weeks, and so be sure to tune in every Friday when they drop. I do hope you are having a great day. And more than anything, I hope you will remember that you are loved.